In today's video, we're bringing you the funniest, wildest, and most magical Elf on the Shelf moments ever. You'll be amazed at what these little guys get up to. So like and subscribe and let's jump right into the fun. For this short clip, we have an elf who's lying down on its side and shaking. One evening, the owner found their elf this way and it just kept shaking. We don't know whether the elf was ill or just messing with its owner, but it's pretty strange nonetheless. Now we have a clip of an elf on the shelf recording a gameplay video of him playing Minecraft. We didn't know that elves also like playing video games, and no one can really be sure if it's true or whether this elf is one of a kind who likes gaming. Anyways, he's the only one who has recorded gameplay video, so let's check it out. One of the famous Christmas songs was playing in the background when this little elf was seen dancing. It sure looks fun. The elf on the shelf is raising its small arms in the air, dancing about the home. But first it checks to see if anyone's watching. As soon as the song ends, the elf returns to its cozy corner under the warm Christmas tree. After all, that's the favorite resting spot of all elves. In this clip, you'll see a cheeky elf on the shelf using a small snow machine inside a house to, well, make snow. More experienced elves on the shelf can just use magic to conjure snow, but this one is probably a younger elf who just wanted to have some fun with this snow machine. So let's check it out.
In our house.
These elves must be used to being captured on camera, and they should be aware by now that people know that they can come to life. And back in the day, every elf was captured moving on camera would get fired, but maybe this year Santa has changed the North Pole laws or something like that, because this elf was sitting with his face turned away from the camera when out of nowhere it just turned around and looked straight into it. It's just insane, so let's check it out. In a twisted turn of events, an elf on the shelf decided to reveal itself and got caught on camera moving, but only on its own terms, moving enough for the camera to capture its movement, but also hiding from the camera too. Now we have a clip of a group of elves sitting in darkness, and we can see the usual red elf, but next to it sits a more rare blue elf and green elves. However, the moving elf is the pink one, who comes from behind the camera and shoves the blue elf before showing its own face to the camera. While all the elves are not moving, the pink one seems to be having tons of fun alone. In this clip, we have an elf on the shelf who was caught moving by a hidden camera. The elf noticed the camera and approached it before seeing that it was on and that it was currently recording and moving. After noticing that, the elf left the frame and gave a thumbs up to the camera. In this short clip, we can see an elf named Abe being caught on camera while driving a toy car. Who knew that some elves could actually drive? Abe isn't even using its hands to steer the wheels, so we guessed that it's using magic to move around with the car. If you didn't know, you aren't supposed to touch your elves on the shelf, because if touched, they can lose their magic powers. And that's exactly what happened to this elf, and you can see because their eyes are blank. Fortunately, the owner's an elf on the shelf expert, and she made a magic potion out of cinnamon and foam to help her elf regain its magic powers. So let's check it out.
The magical lock. Okay. Oh, whoa, that was quick. Did you see that? It opened up immediately. Whoa! She just moved. I just saw her move. Okay, let's see. Have my magic gloves on so they will not lose their magical powers. Ah! She is! She's still smiling.
Elves on the shelf during the festive season is a common theme for decors, but it seems like the elf in this clip is not up for the festive season, nor does it like its position on the Christmas tree. In this clip, an elf on the shelf, or rather on a Christmas tree, was caught on camera moving from the top of the Christmas tree to another position below. Let's take a look. For this clip, we have a sighting of an elf on the shelf who was spotted all by himself at a haunted park. This elf escaped its owners and went hiding there so no one would find it because it didn't want to get brought back to its owners. But this YouTuber tracked it down and captured it on camera.
Over there. Oh my god, guys. I'm literally just gonna...
This kid was introducing their elf on the shelf named Jingle, and later he leaves the elf in front of the camera in an attempt to capture it moving on video. Naturally, he does indeed move, but then it vanishes into thin air. But just think for a second, what if the elf simply didn't move at all while the video was being recorded? That would be extremely embarrassing for those attempting to catch them, but luckily this clip is a success. For this clip, we have a super energetic elf who starts moving right in front of the camera. The elf looks straight at the camera and does a little dance of joy before starting to walk back and forth. At the end of the clip, it seems that the elf has left the camera, but its legs return to the frame before finally taking off. This guy captured a strange clip of his elf on the shelf teleporting around his house. You can see the elf flying through the air into the frame before landing on the ground, but when its owner points its camera at it, the elf disappears and no one knows where it went next. It's one of the spookiest elf on the shelf clips moving so far, so let's check it out.
Yo, where did it go? It was right here, Mr. Elf.
Okay, you guys might be shocked about what you're about to see, but behold, it's an elf on the shelf. This time, it's just really gonna be fun. Well, this elf on the shelf was just getting caught out of bed going to the bathroom, but he can't seem to be able to lift the toilet seat. And here's the funny part, he decides to wee all over the bathroom sink instead. What a silly elf, right guys? For this clip, we have footage from a hidden security camera in the kitchen, and one night the camera captured this wonderful moment of an elf on the shelf moving its face right into the lens before starting to dance and hop around on the kitchen counter. The elf had some midnight fun and finally takes off the counter. So this mom set up some security cameras at the start of December because she knew that her children's elves on the shelf would like to roam around the house and do some bad stuff. In this clip, you can see them captured scooting around the house late at night, but they do something crazy at the end, so keep on watching. This clip shows an elf on the shelf that was caught sitting calmly on top of the bed before starting to raise its hand. Maybe it has a question to ask, who knows? For this short clip, we have an elf that started moving at night. It peeks its head from behind the couch, but soon after, the family dog notices the elf moving and starts chasing after it. The elf even hides behind the couch, so let's just hope that the dog wants to play with the elf instead of tearing it apart. In this clip, we have an elf that doesn't wait until nightfall to stretch his legs for a bit. His name is Boris, and he seems to be unaware of the fact that he's been set up and is being filmed. After his human friend leaves him sitting on the sofa alone for just a minute to go downstairs, it only takes Boris a moment to seize the opportunity. The little fella gets up and spins around, doing pirouette-like movements, almost as if he's practicing figure skating. For an instant, he disappears from the screen before flying back into view and then dropping down on his face as he hears his friend coming back. Unfortunately, Boris might have been a little too reckless since he was not only caught on camera, but even gives himself away due to the fact that he's in a completely different position than what his human friend left him in before. A YouTuber named Nicholas Bradley uploaded a clip of his elf on the shelf doing what most elves do, avoiding the camera at all costs. Unfortunately for the elf, the camera captured most of his movements, well, until it spotted the camera itself. In this clip, the elf was caught moving its eyes, and it's very rare to see an elf on a shelf moving its eyes, so it's a super special case. The person who took this video hung a candy stick on the elf's little hand. Then they must have looked away or something because elves don't move at all if someone's looking at them. At that point, you can see the elf moving its eyes, and it's just absolutely nuts, so let's take a look. Elf on the Shelf really loves standing and clinging onto Christmas trees, so it's not a surprise that this elf on the shelf decided to go for the family's Christmas tree even if he gets caught by the family's surveillance cameras. Let's see how this amazing elf gets his way to the top of the Christmas tree. Trust me, it's truly amazing. The elf on the shelf in this next clip will rather choose to play hide and seek in the kitchen than stay put in one position, so let's check it out. A kid and her mom caught their elf on the shelf moving on camera by a lucky accident. But in this clip, the elf was seen climbing down from the top of the wall to first rest under the pillows and then suddenly reappear to start moving towards the camera. The elf even seems to be smiling at the end, so let's check it out. This clip was captured by a spy camera, and it shows an elf on the shelf who's trying to escape the house. While it should be happy to be spending time with a company containing other toys and dolls, this elf isn't so and decides to sneak around.
Now we have a rare instance of an angry elf on the shelf who saw the hidden camera and attacked it. The elf punches and even headbutts the camera. The elf probably got angry at its owner for trying to catch it moving because the elves can't allow themselves to be recorded in motion. The elf keeps punching and hitting the camera before flipping it over at the very end of the clip. What a rare sighting of an elf on the shelf moving. In this brief clip, we can see an elf looking straight into the camera before headbutting it. Perhaps the elf didn't like being secretly recorded, and that's why it tried to shut the camera off. After 2 headbutts, the elf understands that it doesn't know how to turn the camera off and it leaves the scene. Now we have a clip of this elf on the shelf seemingly sitting still on the kitchen counter, but soon enough it starts moving its eyes. You can clearly see that the elf is looking around to see if it's alone in the room and whether he can start moving freely. If you thought your cookies were safe in a cookie jar, then you might want to rethink your belief after watching this clip. So basically, a kid woke up to see their elf on the shelf sitting next to several cookies that has to be taken out of the cookie jar in the kitchen. The elf had even eaten some, as the crumbs indicate. Luckily, the elf left some for the kids to share. This clip is a short segment from a TV news report that shows one elf on the shelf doing all sorts of crazy stuff on camera. So you're not supposed to see an elf on the shelf with your own 2 eyes because apparently the elves can lose their magical powers if that happens. But if you record them on camera, nothing bad ends up happening to them, so keep on watching. In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught on camera moving, but where the other elves on the shelf clips usually have elves moving around with no destination in mind, this elf on the shelf has a purpose, and that's to find its fluffy friends. So let's check it out. On Christmas Eve of 2013, this elf was caught riding around the house in a tiny car with his Barbie friends. You might not notice anything weird at first, but then it moves a little and walks past the camera only to look at it directly. It jumped down from the counter, opened the door to the pantry, and threw away everything it could reach. There were also a few moments in the video where Barbie drives on her own. And you'll see the elf continuing to drive around his car, causing a mess in the kitchen and having a good time playing with the toys in the house. After the elf had its fun, it returns to the same spot in the kitchen and freezes in the same way with hopes that nothing will suspect it. Up next is this little naughty elf caught moving and tumbling down this little platform he was standing on, next to the little royal guard. It's just a short video, but it's worth watching. Since it's an elf on the shelf getting caught moving, let's check it out. For the residents of this house, elves on the shelf might not be on the budget for next Christmas, and we can't blame them, and neither will you after watching this clip of their elf on the shelf clearly enjoying throwing tantrums and making his opinions known by trashing his owner's kitchen, opening shelves and fridge to rearrange everything inside, and then proceeding to dump some on the ground. From hiding behind the wall to coming out to play around the house to finally choosing the right spot to hide to avoid cameras, this elf has got a lot of decisions to make. In this clip, YouTuber Meeble Sporellas managed to catch their elves on the shelf sneaking various candies and sweets. We can't blame them. After all, sweets are the main source of energy for elves. While some elves on the shelf don't mind getting caught on cameras, and some even wave at the camera once they spot it, there are also some elves who just don't like getting caught on camera moving, and will do everything to avoid it. A great example is this elf, who after trying its best not to get caught flying, eventually got caught. This dad decided to catch their elf on the shelf just a few days after Thanksgiving because he has tried many times before, but has yet to be able to catch anyone moving. He can only hope that an elf was caught this time. However, because they don't have a chimney, they think that the elf on the shelf will most likely come into their home through the front doors. As a result, he set up cameras and lights right at the entrance, and after a few hours of waiting, the elves finally came through the door just as the dad predicted. This is a perfect elf on the shelf clip, so let's enjoy it together. In this clip, the elf can be seen wanting to climb down the staircase, but as if it knew there was a hidden camera trying to capture that exact moment. So the elf went back and hid, but then continued to peep as if it was hoping that the camera would move or stop rolling. So let's check it out. This woman started hearing bell noises coming out of her fridge, meaning that some of her elves were caught inside of it. When she opened the fridge door, she found one of the elves wearing green clothes hanging upside down, and another elf with more usual red attire being stuck inside a water bottle. The elf wrote a note asking for help. Finally, the green elf speaks and explains how this entire situation came to be, so let's check it out.
The water bottle, but how'd she get in there? What? Zard, how in the world did Meebles get inside that water bottle?
Well, I was hanging upside down and I thought she might want to go in there because it'd be, toasty and cold, like, kind of like the North Pole, and
This guy is on a quest to catch the elf on the shelf moving over the Christmas season. He tried putting chocolate coins and candy canes in front of the elf to make him move and grab a piece of the chocolate for a snack, but it's not gonna work. He needs to pay closer attention to the elf, but nothing appears to be changing. So he turned off the lights and installed a night vision camera, and then the elf vanishes, leaving the goodies half empty. What happened to it? Fortunately, the guy fitted a GPS tracker to the elf to keep track of it. And where do you think the elf on the shelf went? Of course, to the North Pole, and the elf is probably going to tell Santa everything that's happened to him. This clip shows an elf who wanted Kellogg's cereal so bad that it literally dived right inside the box where it enjoyed eating cereal. It's said that mysterious things happen in the dark, and this clip shows such examples because a mom who recorded it captured this fascinating moment of her elf on the shelf using magic to fly and teleport all over the place. This is truly amazing. We think one of the things elves don't account for is getting caught on camera while moving, even though they're supposed to not have the ability to move at all. However, as soon as this particular elf noticed the camera, it went into its hiding mode immediately, just to avoid getting captured. For the elf on the shelf in this clip, nighttime means playtime. In this clip, an elf on the shelf can be seen moving and trying to wake up its sleeping friends. After a long time of disturbance, it eventually falls on its friends and joins the sleeping camp. Elves also need rest. Either the elf on the shelf in this video is trying to get down by floating in the air and eventually flying away, or the elf eventually falls. It's hard to tell, but it's a cool clip nonetheless. So 2 weeks before Christmas, this dad caught their elf on the shelf just flying in the middle of the video, and he was recording. Actually, this dad and his family have a verified elf on the shelf YouTube channel that they captured their elf moving a few times, so it must be a real video, and what you're seeing has happened for real. It's about to get even crazier, so make sure to keep on watching until the end. In this clip, a secret security camera captured an elf sitting on the Christmas tree, but the little friend unexpectedly started moving, making its way down the Christmas tree. When it lands on the ground, the elf starts dancing and hopping around the presents and perhaps evaluating how well the gifts were wrapped. Anyhow, after inspecting the presents, the elf approaches the camera, which is a special camera that can record with night vision. Otherwise, all we could see would just be pitch black. The elf turns its back to the camera, and this wonderful clip comes to an end.
It doesn't matter how long it takes when an elf on the shelf decides to do something, because they do it eventually. In this clip, a kid sets up a hidden camera to catch his elf on the shelf moving on camera, and what this camera managed to capture will scare you. It will make you question everything you know about elves on the shelf, so let's check it out. As this guy records an introduction for his YouTube video, you can see his elf sitting behind him on a closet start to move its arm and wave at the camera. What a spectacular sighting. Now they introduce to their son, the elf, and they make great friends.
Touch him. I'm not supposed to touch him.
In this brief clip, we can see an elf on the shelf sitting on the Christmas tree before the elf falls down. Perhaps it wanted to move, but it noticed the secret camera recording it, so the elf made sure to quickly get out of frame so he could move without being recorded. We have this elf on the shelf sitting beside his little friend, and in this video, both of them can be seen smiling in front of the camera. Not only that, guys, but they also move their eyes. Alright, it's a little creepy, but that's okay since they meant no harm. You probably know that elves are great beings that are meant to protect the little kids. In this short clip, the hidden security camera captured the elf on the shelf slowly moving its eyes. The elf perhaps noticed the camera and knew that it was trying to record it moving, and that's why it only moved its eyes. In this next clip, the elf on the shelf can be seen trying to quietly move out of the house before getting caught on camera, and it must have been super shocked because what it did next will surprise you, so keep on watching. Now we have a clip of an elf just strolling around the living room. This girl captured this incredible footage last year on Christmas Eve, and it's a truly magical moment of an elf on the shelf coming to life and walking around the living room. If you're interested in learning how to catch your elf pulling pranks on you outside your door, you should watch this clip. So here's what happened. An elf was captured on camera ringing the doorbell of one of the family's homes, which was lucky because they had a security camera in place at the front door. As a result, his little naughty act was exposed and he got captured on camera doing the usual mischievous behavior that elves like to do. In this clip, YouTube Meeble Spirella managed to catch their elves on the shelf sneaking various candies and sweets. This little girl was soundly asleep, probably dreaming of Santa's gifts. Their surveillance camera catches a glimpse of an elf peeking at her multiple times. It had multiple attempts to come near her, bouncing all over. The father caught the elf sleeping beside the little kid and thought that he saw the elf smile. What a wholesome clip. In this incredible clip, we have an elf hanging from the bed curtain frame, and suddenly it starts moving and slowly making its way to the other side of the frame using only its hand. Now, this elf is probably a gymnast back at the North Pole, and perhaps even elves have athletic competitions, so this elf decided to put in some time into training while it's away from its friends.